Okay, this is part 44 of Rebel and the final part of this book and the final part of the entire Legends series. Okay, so enough of an introduction, let's just get into it. Daniel, there was a time when my wanted poster was scattered on the jumbotrons all over Los Angeles. It's still strange to be in the Republic without seeing those ads, to know that I'm not walking down the streets as a criminal anymore. Hell, it's strange to walk down these streets and know that I'm not going to sleep huddled against an alley wall, that I'm not constantly searching for my next meal. Eden and I have been back in the Republic for a little over 2 weeks. Behind us and across the oceans, Antarctica has begun the first experimental phase of revising its level system. Although the president doesn't want to admit it, they've incorporated a lot of the changes that Eden had originally put in. Ways for people in the Undercity to redeem themselves. Level exemptions for things like medicine and food and shelter. More freedom and less punishment for what you can say and express. They're small steps, of course, just like the Republic's progress. All around the world, everyone's just gradually trying to move forward. The streets are still slick tonight from a gentle rain earlier in the afternoon, and the air smells crisp and clean, the breeze cooling my cheeks. I take my time strolling toward the complex where June lives, counting out steps of my own. My fingers brush against a small box tucked in one of my pockets. I haven't opened it since I packed it away. I'm too afraid to. I reach the main entrance of her complex and exchange a familiar nod with the security guard. June and I have had several dates since I arrived. We've caught up over quiet dinners in the corners of restaurants and drinks in the dim recesses of her living room, our faces turning out toward the lights of the city. I've talked to her every day. She's told me about how Andon is securing funding for the Republic's rebuilding. I've told her about how quickly Eden has adapted to his internship and life back in the Republic. I go over everything I want to say again in my head. Maybe she'll tell me that I'm rushing things too much. The thought sends a shiver of uncertainty through me as I head up the elevator to her floor. June is a practical person after all. How long has it been since we were reunited anyway? Only several months with a lot of chaos in between. I reach her door. There, I press her doorbell and then linger for a moment, trying to stop my fidgeting. I'm still debating with myself when the door swings open to reveal June. The sight of her cuts through the train of nervous questions engulfing my thoughts. Her hair is down to her shoulders tonight, dark and wavy, and she has pinned one side with a delicate floral pin. She's wearing a pale dress that shimmers slightly in the light. Seeing her in full military gear is always breathtaking, but it's when she's like this, off-duty, her guard down and smile on, her eyes relaxed, that I find myself barely able to handle how stunning she is. She looks so gorgeous in this moment that I just end up staring at her in disbelief. She laughs at me, then takes a step toward me and kisses me once. "Good evening," she says, raising an eyebrow at me. "Nice to see you, too." Does she suspect something? I smile at her, trying to stay casual, then offer her my arm. "Just so you know," I say as we start heading back down the hall, "I wasn't completely overwhelmed at how beautiful you look. That would be stupid." "Right." She tilts her head at me. "Then why were you staring off into space?" "You had a spider in your hair." She laughs again, and I realize that I'll never get enough of the sound. "Thanks for not telling me," she says. We banter as we head out of her complex and into the freshly washed night. I guide her around the puddles still on the sidewalk and watch as the light dances against her hair. Our conversations come more easily now, and somehow I almost feel like we've gone back in time to when we'd first met. "You said you found a new cafe that opened near the train station?" she asks curiously as I lead her down the street. "How come I've never heard of this place?" I smile a little. "Eden told me about it. I think they just opened their doors today and haven't really publicized it. He said it looks perfect for a quiet night." June just frowns and concentrates harder on figuring it out. I usually know about all the openings in this area. Their permit needs to go through a strict check, and if they were able to get it approved, I would have heard and sent someone to inspect it. I sigh at her and laugh. Keeping a secret from June is just as hard as it's always been. "Just trust me," I say before she digs too much deeper. The train station I take her toward is the same one that I saw her walk by several months ago for the first time in 10 years. I'm quiet as we head through the space. It's serene right now, the newly paved area empty as no more trains are running here for the night. Patches of grass decorate the gates around the station. The area is dimly lit, only a few streetlights dotting the night. The memory of that meeting plays sharply in my mind. Eden walking beside me after his first internship interview, his spirits high as he tells me what he wants to do for the Republic. My hands in my pockets, a smile on my face as I listen to him. The sight of June walking toward me from the opposite side of the walkway. The way I'd stopped as she passed me by, how everything about her, her eyes, her walk, the sense of her there, had seized me like a hook. I think of how I'd caught up to her, how we'd introduced ourselves to each other again after so much time apart. Hi, I'm Daniel. Hi, I'm June. Now I've taken her back here. I look at her as we walk, a lump forming in my throat. Is she thinking about that moment too? She's quiet and her eyes seem far away. Eden should be in position, ready to do his part of my surprise. I glance toward the ledge of the train station's second floor. He should be up there somewhere. My heart pounds in anticipation. It's now or never. Suddenly, as we go, strings of tiny lights illuminate overhead. There are thousands of them strung in arcs along the trees and poles, guiding our way. June looks up at them in surprise. A soft gasp escapes her. I tighten my hand around hers and pull her forward. As we walk, more strings of lights turn on to guide our path, one round after another. Oh my god, excuse me. Okay. Their golden twinkling glow reflecting against the wet sidewalk until it looks like we're walking through a fairyland. June looks at me, the lights gleaming in her eyes. A curious, puzzled smile is on her face. Is this your doing? She asks me, nodding up in wonder at the lights. I smile and lean down toward her. Just follow me, I whisper. The lights continue to illuminate for us, one row after another, guiding us toward the end of the walkway where a small park surrounded by shaded trees sits around the corner. As we reach it, I feel a tremble go through June. Her steps falter for a moment. The walkway leading all around the square space is lit with candles. Thousands of tiny fairy lights glow in the streets overhead. Delicate glass orbs hang from the branches filled with intricate bouquets of dried flowers, and baskets of roses blanket the grass all around us in a breathtaking pattern, their scent sweetening the air. I lead her to the center of the space, then turn to face her, my eyes meeting her dark ones. A faint breeze whispers through the leaves. I'm trembling now too, unsure if I'm going to be able to do this. Each memory I have of you, I keep in a treasured place in my heart. I say, this place holds one of my favorites. You remember it too, yeah? When we saw each other again for the first time in a decade. June's eyes are wide now, full of love and fear and expectation. Of course, she whispers. I turn my eyes down for a moment, too shy to hold the gaze between us. My smile edges one side of my mouth up. I've thought about the meeting every day for the past few months, that in this big world somehow I found my way back to the city, to this place, and somehow, after everything, the world still chose to put us back in each other's lives. I turn my eyes back up to hers. The Republic is a place that holds some of our darkest memories, for both you and me. You've been through so much, and so have I. We went through it together, and somehow we emerged from it to be here again at each other's sides. She smiles at me. There is a sheen of tears in her eyes now, and within them are a million stars. Is that why you brought us here? She murmurs. I step closer to her and look down at our intertwined hands. June, I whisper hoarsely. I'm in love with you. I've always been since the first moment I knew you. There's nothing that feels more right to me than to be by your side, and I realized that I could never get that feeling if I stayed in Antarctica, so I came back to find you. She leans toward me, searching my gaze. Thank you for coming back, she whispers. I glance up at the twinkling lights. I wanted to bring you here because I think this place holds my favorite memory of us, of the fact that we're still here. Then I reach into my pocket and pull out a small polished box. I'd spent so long preparing for this moment, overthinking every second of it, but now I can only keep going. I wanted to bring you here because I'd like to stay here, at your side no matter what happens. I thought this place might be a good beginning for the next chapter of our lives. I hesitate, bashful now. That is, if you'd like to be here with me too. Her hands tremble against mine as I kneel down before her and open the box to show her a ring. It's a clean silver band studded with tiny, evenly spaced sparkles of diamonds, designed with an intricate, twisting pattern reminiscent of the paperclip ring I gave her years ago, and of the one she'd given me. I'd worked with a craftsman on it years ago. I kept it in my possession in the hopes that one day I'd be able to gift it. It looks like 10 lost years aching to be made up for by a lifetime together. A long time ago, I gave you a ring that held my entire heart, I tell her, but it represents a past. I want to give you something that is a future, a possibility. June looks at me with eyes full of hope and fear. And what is that future? She asks. I gather all my courage, and I ask her the question I've been thinking about for so long, the one that my life has been leading up to since the moment I first met her. When we were still young, unsure what the next day would bring, clinging to each other in desperation, finding ourselves together, the question that has drawn me back here to her, heart-bared, vulnerable, afraid of hope. Will you marry me? I say to her. And for an instant I think I'm dreaming. I'm going to wake up and this is all going to disappear. Or maybe we aren't meant to be. She will turn away or she will shake her head and this particular future will never come to pass. But then June's tears finally spill down her face and her smile is the brightest light I've ever seen and she's wrapping her arms around my neck, crying and laughing and shaking, and I am so overwhelmed with joy that for a moment all I can do is embrace her. I take the new ring and slide it onto her finger where she'd once worn a twist of paper clips that represented our history, a past, a future, something that can be ours. I realize I'm crying too because the final puzzle piece of my heart has fallen into place. June's answer drifts up into the night air and echoes across the cityscape, one of millions of things happening in each of our lives, the small steps you take that are invisible to everyone else in the world, the steps that nevertheless matter the most. Yes, always, forever.